Welcome everyone. Today's topic is behind the scenes finding hidden deals. Okay, let's dive into it. This is such a critical topic because guess what? Most investors who get in real estate don't really make it to the level they could. And you know why? It's not because of money, credit, knowledge, funding. It's because they just can't find the great deal. So let's just reverse engineer the process. What you need to know in order for you to understand what happens behind finding great deals. Let's just dive into it now. Okay, so we've done 30 deals in the last 2.5 years. We just closed our 30th deal yesterday in Elmwood Park. Okay, so these are some of the examples of great transactions that I want to make sure that you are able to do, especially in the upcoming months, because in the next 6 to 12 months, there's going to be a huge wave of foreclosures coming down the pipe into the market. So be ready. So this is another example of a profit for a flip in Des Plaines. This is a rental cash flow in the city. So this is my quiz for you. How many of you do you think there are still great deals in your neighborhood, but still you would not be able to recognize them? I would say most of you, right? So let's figure out why and how you can overcome these, okay? So we're going to be covering two aspects. So we have the MLS and off market. So we're going to be focusing on off market deals, and I'm going to tell you what the reason is for focusing on the off market. Okay, so once we find the great deal, we're going to obviously quickly analyze it and then connect with the seller. So the next step is funding and marketing the deal. But the key factor, as you can see, is finding the great deal. So step number one, that's what we're going to focus on, because most people can't find great deals. So that is today's topic, okay? Because unless you have number one, you cannot move on to the next one. And then pretty much investors are stuck. So what do you get into real estate? Obviously, right? Financially independent. This is critical. How many people make it? Only 2 to 5% make it. It doesn't mean that the rest, 95, fail, but they just don't make it to the level they could, okay? So what is the biggest problem? Guess what? Most people think that it's because of money and credit. So people say, well, I can get into real estate because I don't have any money, my credit is not so good. And then I heard people say, well, I can't buy a property right now because I'm saving. That's a big misconception, and we're going to crush that myth today, okay? So that is not the reason. The main reason is because they just can't find a great deal. So the question is, what is it that most people do? What is the typical process? So they have a criteria, right? So they want to focus on a single family home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, basement, no basement in a given location. So they set up the criteria, right? Then potentially they hire a real estate agent. They browse a lot of websites themselves. And then once they believe they have a great deal, they start running that deal through a filtering criteria just to eliminate the bad ones, right? And then once they find the great deal, according to them, they start going into deeper analysis, right? So they start computing like taxes, insurance, property management fees, and so forth. And then the mortgage, how much is going to be my monthly payment? And then finally, if they decide to, let's say, buy and hold the property, they need to understand rent and vacancies, right? So they just go through all these processes, right? They potentially plug everything into a spreadsheet. But guess what? Just to find out that they may come with a very short of good deals. And oftentimes they're not good deals. So it's pretty frustrating and time consuming. So what if, let me tell you, what if you could find a deal with 40, 60, 70 in equity? I mean, imagine, what could you do with it? Could you wholesale it, flip it, or buy and hold? Absolutely. Is that a yes or a yes to all of the above? So that's what we're going to focus on, and this is what causing investors to not necessarily fail, but just to not make it to the level they could. Okay, they struggle and they spend way too much time. So we're going to crush that. Okay, so this is what we did. Okay, we just didn't want to be part of the statistics, right? We wanted to figure out what the successful real estate key players are doing in Chicagoland, right? So, and then copy paste, right? We don't want to reinvent the wheel, okay? So this is what these people have in common. Obviously, number one, they have a great deal. They understand basic analysis and they have funding. But guess what? They have funding because they have a great deal. So guess what? When they have a great deal or you find a great deal, you put over 95% of your odds in your favor. It is that simple. So if we were to start all over again, right? Even when I talk to the key players in the industry, such as Andrew Holmes, Rahul Vishal, they all told me, Hugo, if I was to start all over again, I would focus only in off-market properties, finding deals with a lot of equity. That is the key secret. But the question is, how do you find that, right? Do you think it's easy? Absolutely not. It takes years and years of experience, right? Like people have been in the industry for 15, 20 years. So what we did is we found out, well, what is experience, right? If these people have been in the business for 15, 20 years, what are my chances, right? So unfortunately, experience is something that you get when it's too late, right? So what we wanted to do is we wanted to shrink everything down, right? I didn't want to wait 15, 30 years. I said, I want to be able to find great deals today. I don't want to wait 10 months, 12 months, let alone years to become financially free. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Okay. So we just talked to the top key players, people who have done over 100 transactions a year for at least 5 to 10 years successfully, who made money in up and down cycles, right? So we tap into their knowledge and wisdom. So this is what we did. Pretty much we summarize everything that we were able to crack the code for into 3 things, right? So we're going to focus on negotiate, close, and market. So warning, I'm going to show you a constant supply of new opportunities right now. And we're going to focus on number 1, finding great deals. So first step that you need to focus on, economic viability of the area. That is step number 1. So for instance, when you get into real estate, you only have 3 exit strategies. Either you flip, buy and hold, or wholesale. So for instance, let's just talk about flips, right? So meaning you buy the property, fix it up, and then sell it, put it on the market for a profit. So the question is, what do you think that separates most successful people from ordinary? Okay, well, successful people always know what to buy the property for. Therefore, they put all their odds in their favor. They'll never lose money because they buy it at the right price. That is so critical, because even if you find a great deal, guess what? You have to buy it for the right amount, because oftentimes people find like the golden goose, but guess what? They overpay for it and they kill any potential successful exit strategy possible, like a buy and hold or a flip. So I'm going to show you how to never overpay for a property once you find a great deal. So let's focus on understanding the economic viability of the area. Okay, so in ChicagoDealVault, you can find over 300 areas. So the key is for you to understand, if you're going to focus in this example, flips, right? What are the top flipping markets? If you're going to do rentals, the same thing, right? Because when we started, that was the first mistake we made. We bought a rental in a flipping market, and vice versa. We tried to do a flip on a rental market. So guess what the outcome was? Not successful, right? So we couldn't sell the property, we couldn't cash flow on the rental. It was just a big disaster. So this is what I want to emphasize, that you understand the economic viability of the area. So what we did is we just pull out the top flipping markets in the suburbs. So Buffalo Grove is number one in the list, then Highland Park, Libertyville. Now, as you can see, these are top areas, okay? Because with this economic contraction, you need to focus on A and B areas. So in this case, these are going to be detached properties, so condos, duplexes, and townhomes, okay, for flips, as an example. Not single family homes, because obviously single family homes in these neighborhoods are going to be way too expensive and the risk is way over the roof, okay? So these are just small attached properties, okay? So once you understand the economic viability of the property, so let's dive into, for instance, Buffalo Grove. As I mentioned earlier, the middle column attached, that refers to condos, townhomes, and duplexes. So why is this a great flipping market? Look at the number of flips that happen in this area, because Buffalo Grove is an A area. So it's got great employment, low crime, great schools, high owner occupancy, very low vacancy rates should you decide to rent the property. So it's a very desirable area, okay? Infrastructure wise, it's amazing. And guess what? The entry point, so the sweet spot to buy, let's say a condo or a townhome, is very affordable, less than 200,000. And guess what? These properties don't last more than 5 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks in the market. I mean, it's unbelievable. Okay, Buffalo Grove, it's unbelievable. So this is what you need to understand. Number one, economic viability of the area. Because if you understand these, you're going to be able to find great deals. So for instance, if I didn't know anything about Buffalo Grove, I would say, well, maybe we do a rental for a single family home. Guess what? You would fail. If you are looking at Buffalo Grove, you need to know that your only successful exit strategy is going to be a flip for a townhome or a condo or a duplex. It is that simple, okay? That is step number one. So I wanted to show you this and emphasize the importance of understanding the economic viability of the area. Because oftentimes, guess what? Investors get too excited and they just want to buy a property, right? They believe it's a great deal, but they forget about understanding the area. So your odds of being successful, even if you find a great deal, reduce 50%. Okay, so that is something that I want to stress. Economic viability of the area. Something that you need to keep in mind. Household income for A areas is going to be over the average, okay? So that means the combined household income is over the Illinois average or median. Population growth, you want to look for areas where it's stable, right? So you want to stay away from areas where people are moving away from, okay? You want to stay in areas that are stable, or obviously growing. There are some areas that have over 50% population growth, okay? And that is due to employment sources that are coming up there. Like for instance, in Joliet, Amazon is building a huge warehouse, right? So Joliet is a booming area right now, okay, for fleets, for rentals. Even though it's got pockets, it's just an example, right? When an employer comes into the area and there's a lot of jobs, right away, population growth is going up. So these factors will drive your success, okay, in real estate. And you have to know the areas like the back of your hand. It is that simple. Something also to keep in mind if you decide to do a buy and hold is owner occupancy and vacancy rates. So the higher the owner occupancy, the better, because you have more owners in the area, there's more pride of ownership, so you're going to find better tenants, better collectible individuals, and if you decide to do a flip, people will be able to afford to pay your top dollars for your property, okay? So housing occupancy, very important. So in this area, what you want to look at, for instance, for vacancy, you want to stay away from areas where vacancy is less than 10%, okay? Sorry, more than 10%. Uh, Areas where the vacancy is more than 10%, if you're going to do a buy and hold, it's not a good idea, okay? Because then you're going to end up with at least 2 months worth of vacancy, and that's going to kill your cash flow, okay? Super, super important. So this is what I was telling you below, the area type. Right now, due to the economy, you need to focus on A and B areas. C and D have been hit the hardest, okay? A and B have felt the crisis a pinch. Why? Because most white labor or people get to work from home remotely, so they have not lost their jobs, whereas C and D areas, many people have lost their jobs. So focus on A and B areas. Next, if you decide to do a buy and hold, you obviously need to understand your rentals, meaning how much will I collect for a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom? How long is that going to stay in the market? And most importantly, I'm going to tell you, when finding a great rental market means that your rents are going to be pretty high. Let me give you an example, like Allsip, Berkeley, Des Plaines, those are top rental markets. Why? Because property prices are very affordable. So you can buy great 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick homes under 200,000. And guess what? Rents are 1,800 and up to 2,200. So those make it to the top rental market list. Okay, that's something that you need to understand. Economic viability of the area. Okay, so now let's focus on finding great deals. Once you understand the economic viability of the area, you have two options, right? MLS and off market. We personally focus on off market. The reason why is because these properties are technically not for sale, whereas MLS, they're for sale. Everyone knows about them, so it's very competitive. It is hard to find great deals, but you can still find them. Okay, it's just a matter of being able to analyze them quickly when they come on the market, and then obviously make an offer on them. So we're going to focus on off-market. An example of off-market properties, you have probates when somebody dies, pre-foreclosure, somebody defaults, upcoming auctions when they're just about to lose the property to the judicial auction. You have bank-owned properties where the bank already foreclosed on the owner and the bank owns the property. You have vacant properties, just to mention a few. So this is what you need to know. In the last year, there were 250,000 MLS transactions. Okay, this is from Embred data. Now imagine, what if you had access to those deals? I mean, would you win or would you not? Of course, right? So it's not about being smarter, it's just about having access to the right information. And that's what life is all about, right? It's never fair, but people who have the right access win. Okay, so in DealVault, you can find, and I explained this in a previous webinar, you can set up your deal alerts to get MLS deal alerts, because you need to have multiple lead pipes. So you cannot disregard MLS, because we've done no less than 7 awesome deals from the MLS. Okay, so you need to have that going through deal alerts on DealVault, and also we're going to focus on off market. Okay, so obviously you can search through DealVault, the MLS, as if you were a broker. Why? Because through our brokerage, we get access live stream. Okay, so here you can search by city, the status, active, and the property type. We always focus on single family homes, but obviously that depends on the area. So what we like to focus on when finding great deals, even if it's MLS, okay? So when we give you the property on the MLS through ChicagoDealVault, you see here the asking price 136, okay? But what you need to focus on is the spread, the difference between the potential ARV and the asking price. So in this case, they're asking for 136, but the potential ARV is 140. It doesn't make sense, okay? But this is just a very quick way for you to weed out the properties that are not a great deal, okay? You can do this in seconds. So when you set up your deal alerts, you're gonna get this in my alerts. So it's gonna be very easy for you to see if it makes sense. So as a tip of advice, if you see the asking price is 136, your ARV should be 75,000 and up above the asking price. So I would expect to see ARV of at least low 200s for these to even start to make sense, okay? So that's how the pros do it. In just seconds, you're going to be able to identify if it's a great deal. Now, you can sort these by top hot deals. This option is on the upper right-hand corner when you do a search. Now, we also created what's called the power search, okay? So you can, and I'll demo that in just a second, okay? So now, let's focus on off-market properties. I just wanted to not ignore MLS because we've done amazing deals through MLS properties, okay? But our focus, entire focus is on off-market properties, okay? In the last year, in fact. So we are just primarily doing off-market properties. So again, these are not on the MLS. You'll never find these on the MLS, which is great, right? Because then your competition goes down by 60, 70%, okay? So now imagine, what if you could tell right now that in a 5, not 10-mile radius, in a 5-mile radius, there were 200 off-market deals. Imagine, I mean, that people don't even know about. I mean, that's the power of having access to the right data, okay? So last year, 2019, Ember data, there were 50,000 off-market transactions. So they never made it to the MLS. So imagine if you could have access to only a couple of them a year. So let's look into some of the off-market space. I just mentioned earlier: auctions, probates, pre-foreclosures, vacancy, bank loan violations, evictions, just to mention a few, right, that you'll never see on the MLS. So now, what you have is this, all the tools that most successful people have. So now I'm gonna go over finding great deals from pre-foreclosures, bank loan properties, okay? And this is the secret, okay? So when people are in financial distress, banks are gonna be after them. And if they don't pay the mortgage after 3 months, the bank will file a lawsuit, they're gonna be in foreclosure, and guess what? Eventually, they're gonna lose their property at the judicial auction in the courthouse, okay? But guess what? This is where we come into the picture. When these owners are just about to lose their property 30 to 60 days before, guess what? They're going to be extremely motivated, and we're going to focus on off-market properties that have a lot of equity. Remember that what I told you, 75 to 100,000? That's what we're going to be focusing on, a lot of equity. Why is that important? Because you're going to have more bargaining power. You're going to be able to pay 40, 50, 60 cents on the dollar, okay? And then I will also show you bank loan properties, the same thing with a lot of equity, okay? So the key point is that we are going to be able to laser beam on these owners before they lose their property, because once they go to the judicial auction at the courthouse, guess what? Everyone knows about that. A lot of investors go to the judicial auction to overbid themselves and overpay for the property, and they might end up buying sight unseen. And not only that, but they need to pay cash. Whereas if we intercept the property beforehand, guess what? You have no competition, you get to see the property from the inside, and you get to finance the property using a hard money lender. So a lot of benefits. That's what we need to focus on, okay? Imagine, what would be the value of that? And that's how the pros think. What's the value of that? Okay, what is that worth? I mean, if you were to find a great deal worth 50, 60,000 in equity, how much is that worth? That much, okay? So how do you find them? So we're going to be focusing on this area of market properties, upcoming auctions, okay? That is my favorite lead pipe. because owners are extremely motivated since they're going to be losing in 30 to 60 days. Imagine if they do nothing, this is what's going to happen to them. They're going to lose their home, they're going to ruin their credit, and the bank is going to take over the property. So if we come in to the picture to help them, okay, imagine what could happen. Okay, so this is the key difference. When you go to the upcoming auctions, you are going to filter by equity. So typically by default, I like to click on 50 to 100% equity. So that means the owner owes very little money, let's say 50,000, but yet the property is worth 100,000 or more. Those are the properties that we're going to be focusing on. So let me just give you an example, okay? So this property in Berwyn is worth over 300,000. Okay, so here this property is just an example. Disregard the dates. Is going to go for auction. We're going to tell you when it's going to go for auction. So the key point is that we're going to be able to find these properties 30 to 60 days before they go to the judicial auction. So we're going to give you the date for the judicial auction, the time, and the location. But obviously, you never want to show up to these judicial auctions because you have to pay cash, okay? So we are just going to focus on the ones that have a lot of equity. So in this case, let me give you the example. So they owe $100,000, but yet the property is worth 300,000. So the owner has over 200,000, okay, in equity. So these are the type of deals that we're going to be focusing on, where the owner owes very little, but yet the property is worth a lot. And guess what? They're going to lose everything in 30 to 60 days. So this is prime lead pipe. And obviously, they haven't paid the mortgage for a long time. So the foreclosure process can take up to 2 years in Illinois. Okay. So imagine if you could pay the owner maybe 10, 20,000 as relocation package. So we would pay what they owe to the bank. So 100,000 plus fees is going to be like 115,000. On top of that, give the owner maybe another 20,000. So let's say you end up paying 150,000 all combined when the property is worth over 300,000. So that means that you're paying 50 cents on the dollar. I mean, isn't that amazing? You will have right off the bat 150,000 worth of equity. I mean, imagine, obviously minus the repairs, okay? But you're going to end up with a property right off the bat with 100,000 in equity, assuming that you're going to put in 50,000 in repairs. So that's the whole purpose of identifying great deals. Okay, so now here again, we're going to focus on properties with a lot of equity. Pre-foreclosures is when the owner defaults, and then right away the bank, after 30 to 90 days, file a lawsuit. Okay, so these people also are in financial distress, but oftentimes they are in denial. So they'll believe they're going to be able to get out of the foreclosure process, but over 90% of the times they will not, and they will end up losing their homes, which is pretty sad, but that's where we come into the picture. So again, we have the filter, and then I want to mention the bank-owned properties. Okay, so these are properties that went to the judicial auction, nobody bought them, and guess what? The bank took over the property, but the bank is not in the business of real estate. They're in the business of lending. So here's the secret for bank-owned properties or shadow inventory, okay? So again, we have them on their shadow inventory. You can filter them with a lot of equity. And one of the cool things that we have is that you can plot all of these off-market properties on the map, so you can easily identify great properties in an economic viable area. Where you can see the street view and so forth. So we're going to give you the numbers where they owe little, like the balance is 204, but the property is worth twice as much. That's what we're going to be focusing on right now. And that's, let's jump in the system to show you how to access these great deals. Okay, so very simple. So right here, as I show you, we can focus on pre-foreclosures upcoming auctions, and bank-owned properties. So I show you on the PowerPoint pre-foreclosures, upcoming auctions. Now I want to show you bank-owned properties. Okay, so this is after the bank took over the property. So in here, let me show you. Bank-owned properties, the secret is that you reach out to small community banks, because if you want to buy properties from Chase, Bank of America, it's not going to happen because they have properties in bulk. Okay, they want to sell in bulk, so they're not going to sell them to you or me. So in here, let's just find buy a lot of equity. But again, remember, you need to focus on the economic viability of the area. So I'm going to pick Bolingbrook, because that's a great neighborhood with over 30% growth, with over 50%. Let's see if we find something that is banked on. Okay, there's nothing. Let me just remove the 50% and put 0 to 50%. Okay, so you can play with those two filters, and let's see if we find some good deals. We came up with quite a few. So I'm just gonna randomly pick one and show you what you need to look for. Okay, so this property, the bank took over the property in 2019, September, end of September. Okay, so this property, let's look at how much the owner owed. They owe over 200,000, and this property is worth, it's just about the same, right? So there's not much equity. And the reason why it went back to the bank, because the starting bid for this property was over 200,000. Okay, so the bank obviously wanted to recoup their loss or the outstanding debt, but the property is not worth that much, because look, based on that ARV, we're gonna tell you the most you should pay for this property. You see, so that is so critical. But still, guess what? You can reach out to the bank, okay? Because guess what? This bank is a small bank. So it's in New York, it's a small bank. So the next step is to call their attorney, okay, and say, you know, I'm interested in this property that you took over from the auction. Obviously, if you're going to make an offer, you directly to the bank through their attorney, you know the most you should pay for the offer. Obviously, you should aim to pay the flip price, even though you're going to do a buy and hold. So this is just an easy way for you to reach out to the bank, okay, using their attorney. Okay, now I want to show you something that is extremely powerful. Okay, so right here we have shadow inventory. So we have another set of inventory that is banked on, okay, that we're gonna give you access to. You can buy these properties directly from either large or small banks. And what I like to do is we get hundreds of them on a weekly basis. I like to plot them on the map, okay? But again, it goes back to once you see them on the map, you need to understand the viability of the area. And to identify a great deal, remember, just as a rule of thumb, you need to add 75,000 to 100,000 to the asking price. And the cool thing about this inventory is that, guess what? You know how much the bank is going to sell the property for. I mean, that's just mind-blowing, because when these properties, most of them are going to the auction platforms like Hubzu, auction.com, you will never know how much the bank is going to sell it for. Guess what? You do know right here how much the bank is going to sell it for, which is huge, right? Why? Because you're going to know right off the bat if it's a great deal. So there are way too many. So this is how many properties we got this week, okay? It's just hundreds and hundreds of them. So what I like to do is I like to zoom in. I already know the markets that we like to focus on, A and B markets, B plus. So once we have a couple of areas, let's say this property in Arlington Heights, okay? Well, it's way too expensive. You see, this is the asking price, over 400,000. There's no way we're gonna pursue that property. It's in a great market. So let's look at this. This is Palatine. This catches my eye because the asking price is less than 200,000. So I want to know the ARV. So remember, the ARV should be about 100,000 above this. So this is an incredible deal right off the bat, okay? Just within seconds. Why? The first thing that I look is on the right-hand side, I look at the location, okay? Even though this property, it's on a busy street, that's the only drawback that I see, okay? Let's do the street view on this. It seems to be very close to, it's on Octon Street. Okay, let me just move the map. Yeah, you see Octon right there. So this is right on Octon. So it's a busy street, but when I see this spread, look how much this property is worth, because this place is a great area, right? In fact, this place is a great rental market because it's an A area, so the rents are through the roof. So if you're gonna pay this amount, you see DealVault says that the most you should pay is over 200,000 for this property, but the bank is selling this for 150,000. I mean, you're paying 50 cents on the dollar, even less than that, like 40 cents, 45 cents on the dollar. This catches my eye, even if it's on a busy street. But if you can buy these 40 cents on the dollar, I mean, this blows my mind. And let me just show you what the rents are. So I'm going to scroll down and look on the rental calculator. It should pull up what the rent amount is going to be right here in just a second, okay? But this is just an example, friends, how look at the rent, over $2,000, okay? I mean, that makes this plane one of the top rental markets, because if you can find a property under 200,000 in these plains, you're gonna be collecting for sure very close to 2,000, because it's an A area, very desirable area, this plains. So, I mean, I really like this. We just found an amazing great deal, because, you know, even DealVault is telling you to pay way more than what the bank is asking for. So the next thing is, it's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, a little bit over 2,000 square feet. So we need to find out what the condition of the property is. So the next step is to, for this type of inventory, if you want to buy it, first of all, you need to do your due diligence in the next couple of days. Go to the property, drive by, take a peek through the outside, make sure that it's vacant for funding purposes. And the next step is to, through DealVault, we get you in touch with our asset manager, Jacob from Texas, and then he can arrange to have the sales contract signed in the next 3 weeks, okay, at that price, which is incredible, right? But obviously we need to do our due diligence, because once we say we're gonna buy the property, there's no way back. We just need to follow through on the deal. So the last 2 transactions we've done in the last month have come from this inventory, bank-owned properties, okay, zero competition. So even if this property was to be on auction.com, it doesn't matter. We're gonna be able to buy it for 150,000, even though people are already bidding on auction.com. It wouldn't matter, okay? So we can pull it from the back door. So in fact, friends, if you live in the neighborhood, please drive by this property, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the address via the chat, because I'm telling you, this seems like an amazing deal, okay? So I'm going to send this via the chat, okay? So if you live near the area, please drive by this property. Let me know, okay? What the condition you can see from the outside, and if it's vacant. Super important. If it's vacant, peek through the windows, if possible, to see the condition, and then let us know, okay? Send us, you can reach out to support@ChicagoDealVault.com. Obviously, take some pictures and send them to us, and then you never know. We could partner up on a deal, okay? So this makes just great sense based on the numbers. Let me just tell you, the only drawbacks that I see here are 2. Location, it's on a busy street, and number 2, square footage. That's something to verify, because when the square footage is over 2,000, obviously you're looking at a rehab, if it's light to medium, of 40 to 50,000. Okay, so we like to stay below 40,000. That's our comfort level. Anytime that you start going over 40,000, it's just riskier. Okay, but right off the bat, I believe we found a great deal. I mean, if we can pay 40 cents on the dollar, oh my goodness, this is just an amazing deal. And let me tell you, I know for a fact this place is an A market. And it's a very strong rental market. Why? Because rents are through the roof. I just show you right here, over 2,000 in rent for this property. And the rule of thumb of the 1% says, if you buy a property for 150,000, you need to rent it for at least 1% of that, which is 1,500. Here, you're going to cash flow in at least 300 to 400 a month if you decide to do a rental on this property. Okay, so it says vacant. Oh, okay, great point. So it says vacant. That's a good thing, but we just want to double check. There are some properties that says occupied, and guess what? They are vacant. So we always want to check the physically if it's vacant. So that's a really good thing, right? That's a great start, but we always want to verify. Okay, there might be an data entry issue. We always need to for sure walk by the property, drive by the property. So if you live near this place, please go check this one out. Okay, if you need details, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screenshot of these. Okay, so you know, and then I'll send it via the chat. So you know the numbers, you know what to expect to pay for this property. And you never know, this could be your next deal. So please, if you live in the neighborhood, check it out, send us some pictures, and then we'll go from there, because we have the ability to pull this property from the back door. So even if you don't have the money, right, or the credit, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, it doesn't matter, because think about this. If you have a great deal like this one that we can buy 40 cents on the dollar, I mean, how much can you wholesale this property for? If it doesn't need an extensive rehab, I mean, you could easily make 20, 30, 30,000 like right off the bat wholesaling this property, meaning you don't need to buy the property, you don't need to rehab the property, you don't even need the funds for it. All you need to do is get this property on the contract, and guess what? Boom. So this is something that is worth quite a lot should we get it on the contract, right? Because remember, we're going to be making money in real estate, not when you flip the property, not when you rehab and rent the property. You're going to be making money in real estate when you get it on the contract for the right price. Okay, friends? So having said that, I hope this made a lot of sense. I just want to quickly summarize what we did today. Understand the economic viability of the area. So you're going to come to right here, area reports, get familiar with the points that I mentioned earlier. You know, A area, you need to understand if it's a flipping or a rental market, and then come to the off-market properties and find a great deal by looking at the map view. Super important. We give you all the numbers, so you don't even need to think, right? Also, we talked about MLS, so you can also set up your deal alerts through here, right here, go under deal alerts, set them up, and then remember, look at the asking price and the AR. If the spread is over 75,000, start looking into that, okay? Super simple. You can analyze deals in like seconds. So friends, that concludes our webinar. I'm going to give you free access to DealVault, so you start finding great deals today, tonight, okay? Not tomorrow, not in a few days. So I'm gonna tell you how you get free access to the system. So right after the webinar, you start finding deals and then send them to us via support at ChicagoDealVault. So we can partner with you if it makes sense for the deal. So for the package, make sure that you select special ChicagoDealVault, okay? And then the promo code is going to be deals. just as shown on the screen. So you're gonna get it free for 30 days. And guess what? We're gonna train you unlimited, okay? As many trainings as you may need. And the way to schedule the one-on-one training via webinar or Zoom call is through that link, okay? So right now, I just gave you at your fingertips the power to access incredible deals, okay? And that's what life is all about. Life is about access. If you have access to the right data, guess what happens? You win, okay? So please, if you don't have access to DealVault, get it right now and start finding great deals just like I show you. And if you find a great deal, send it to us and we'll do something with it, okay? So thank you everyone for joining today. I want to make sure that you execute and you take action and please find another great deal. I mean, the way I show you, it will take you half an hour to find another great deal off market. Okay, so you just need to look at the spread over 7,500 to 1,000 to 100,000. Okay, friends. So again, thank you for joining tonight. Please check this link out, fill it out, select the special Chicago DealVault to get DealVault for free for the next 30 days. The promo code is DEALS. Okay. And please don't forget to RSVP to this Sunday. You know what? We're gonna do a live event. We switched this to an online event. And the reason why is because we got the property rented. We finished the rehab, but we got it rented right away. So we're gonna show you the before after with online. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining. We will be near this place. Perfect. So check it out, please, Debbie, and let us know. So thank you everyone for joining today. Please don't forget to RSVP to this Sunday online event. So it's going to be so cool. We're going to show you some great pictures and we're going to go over the numbers.